I'm Stacy.
Hey, I'm Steph,
Welcome to Harnessing Your Power.
where we discuss everyday topics to break through the stigma and harness our power through self-mastery.
Tune in every Tuesday to join us in conversation as we dig deep into our minds and get closer and closer to our highest self. Hello.
Hello. I didn't know it gives you like a little preview before you hop on of what you look like. I was very grateful for that.
That is nice.
All right.
All right, we got some people joining. Hello.
Yeah, I love it.
Hello. We'll just wait a few minutes for anyone else.
Ooh.
Hello.
I love these names.
I'm still getting used to the live camera. It like zooms in more than
You think so?
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just because it crops it. It feels like it's really close. Okay, we have a good amount of people, so we'll go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone. Thanks for everyone who's watching. You might have seen Steph and I go live a few weeks ago, and we talked about the power of intention and how to be intentional and intention setting and how that transcends into more success and happiness in your life. And we received such positive feedback from that first live that we decided to make this a weekly thing. So if you're missing this and you're watching this later, we have another live that'll be coming up pretty soon. We're going to start doing this every Thursday, so get ready to see us more. Steph and I really wanted to do this because we often just have these amazing conversations where we just naturally flow and bounce off of each other, and we end these conversations feeling so recharged and inspired that before we started doing these lives a few times, we were like, wow, we should have recorded that conversation because it's just been so impactful for both of us. So we really wanted to be able to share that impact to all of you and just continue being our authentic selves and adding some goodness to this world. So that being said, today we will be talking about the power of discipline. This kind of builds off the power of intention, and you might see this type of structure for our upcoming lives. So today we will be talking about discipline. And to get started, for everyone who's here, we did want to have some interaction and make this not just a conversation between Steph and I, but between all of you as well. So what do you guys think of when you hear the word discipline? Or what does it mean to you in your life? Do you love discipline? Is it something that you hate? What are your opinions?
I'm excited to see some of these answers because I feel like discipline can mean so much to like everybody in their own way. And I love that you said you hate discipline.
Yeah.
Greatness.
Love
hate.
Yeah. Relatable.
Hi, Ash. For anybody who hopped on, I feel like Ash would have a good answer to this, but we're talking about discipline, and what does discipline mean to you?
And Katie said greatness because the great people, I'm assuming, have a lot of discipline. That's definitely true. You hear so many success stories of millionaires, or even if it's not monetary success, but all this whatever type of success it is, and you hear how they had different types of sacrifices. Like Ash just said, short-term sacrifice for long-term results. Exactly. To me, discipline really aligns with like that grind mentality. And for me personally, I really see discipline as showing up for yourself and being accountable for yourself. Because to me, discipline is something I try to practice with myself. It is something that we...
You what? you strive?
I strive to practice with myself because discipline is something that we find a lot in our lives especially when we're kids, from our teachers, from our coaches, from our parents. But when we're at this age where we start to make these choices for ourselves and we're working towards our own goals, being disciplined for me is really showing up for myself and for my goals.
I love that you said that, because I feel like I talk about this specific, I think it's needed, but it's a hard thing to stick to. Yes. I feel like I talk about this so often. It's an example that Ruby gave, and I always give her credit for it, because she always talks about, you know, parenting yourself, or like being your own, like having that mentality of when we go to work or whatever the case may be, somebody's always telling you what to do, but telling yourself what to do and actually listening to yourself is not always the easiest thing to do. And so I was listening to some stuff about discipline, and it was a video, and it said, discipline is the constant human awareness of the need for action and the conscious act by us to implement that action. And when it's awareness plus the implementation, then you have disciplined action. But on the other side of that, the opposite of that, when there is a time that passes between that awareness of that action and doing the actual action, that's procrastination. And that's the complete opposite of discipline. And I was like, oh, I feel like a lot of us probably on this live I'm a big procrastinator. I don't know about you. But I've noticed it like in my everyday life, from forever ago. I think growing up, like we always hear people saying, yeah, I've been procrastinating that, or like I've been putting that off, or I've just, whatever the case may be. And really just sticking to what you say you're going to do and just doing it. Who was it that said? Tristan Kelly. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but she said, it's something that we can fall off on, but you know, like you said, are you showing up for yourself? Are you making sure that you're doing the things that you want to do? There's always a reason that we should be disciplined. How important is it to you?
Exactly. And like you said, really, how important is it to you, and how much are being impeccable with your word? From the 4 agreements, I see you, Katie. Exactly, with your word to yourself. Because like you kind of referenced, Steph, you know, when you're at work, a boss is telling you what to do, and you have to have that discipline to show up to that job, because if you don't show up, you might lose that job. So what do you lose when you don't show up for yourself?
Ooh, I love that. So another thing that you had, so you said, what do you lose when you don't show up for yourself? But when we think about, so not being disciplined and procrastinating and not doing the things that you're doing or that you're supposed to be doing for yourself, I had listened to, and I had completely forgot about this podcast. So just now I had listened to a podcast a while back that was talking about procrastination and what is it really. And a lot of people who procrastinate a lot are actually perfectionists. And to hear that, I was like, oh, like, are we just putting things off over and over again, because then we can say, oh, well, I waited till the end and that's why it wasn't that great. Or damn, I did such an amazing job. Imagine I would have actually put my all into it. And like really looking at it from that perspective, I was just like, oh, like, am I just making it? What do you lose when you don't show up? But like really thinking about it like that, like, are we just wanting everything to be so perfect that we're just putting it off and putting it off and putting it off? And at the end, what do you really get out of that? I think we talked about it very briefly, but the pain of discipline and doing something now versus the pain of regret. Are you going to regret not doing that thing that you've been putting off over and over and over again? And how is that going to hurt you in the long run?
Right. Because you're going to lose something in the long run, whether it's the quality of what you're doing or the outcome, or like Katie said, you get more anxiety right now, or a lot of times that I personally procrastinate is because I want to do something that seems more rewarding in that moment, like not writing a paper because I want to go out with friends. But then when the paper is due, I can't go out with friends for 3 days because now I have to 3 days straight grind on this paper. So I think you're gonna lose something no matter what. It's just about how much it is that you're willing to give up. And like you said, it's two different types of pain. It's hard to procrastinate and it's hard to be disciplined. Or it's easy to procrastinate and it's easy to be disciplined. It's however you want to look at it. And one place that it shows up a lot for me that might be relatable to some people is in school. So throughout my undergrad and even right now with my master's, I procrastinate schoolwork so much. And it's really interesting because I actually had a huge project due today. So at the beginning of the semester, I created a whole plan for this project, like a calendar of what I needed to do every week to stay disciplined and stay on top of what I needed to do. Guess what? I didn't follow my own plan. And now that it's this final week that I knew it was due, I created a different plan and I stayed disciplined. Because at this point, I had no choice except but to be disciplined. And it caused a lot more disruption in my life than if I would have kept the same level of discipline the entire time. So I really think at some point or not, you're forced to be disciplined. If you're going to accomplish what you've set out to accomplish, at some point you're going to be forced to be disciplined. And the sooner that you accept that and you act that way with yourself, then the easier and the faster it'll be to stay that way.
When you mentioned like short-term reward, I feel like so many people, like we always talk about like the microwave effect of like wanting that instant satisfaction, and reward, like how you talked about there's two different kinds of pain. So like there's also two different kind of rewards. The reward of instantly, okay, cool, like I can do this later, I'm gonna put it off, now you can go out with your friends, or now you can have that amazing day or have a relaxing day because maybe you've had a long day. But the reward of actually being disciplined is so much larger. The reward of being disciplined, like what does that get you in the end? Because let's bring it back to the schoolwork, since you mentioned that. If you would have done that paper without the stress, without the anxiety, maybe you could have had, like, maybe there's something better that came up, or you could have hung out with your friends or whatever the case may be. And there was an example that I really liked. It was, do you want to go on that beach day with your friends, or do you want to own the beach? And when I heard that, I was like, oh, well, I want to own the beach.
Yeah.
But do I have the discipline to own the beach? Do I have the discipline to make sure that I'm going to skip out on a few beach days so that I can have more, so that I can do more? And I feel like when you put it into that bigger perspective, when you put it into, okay, I'm going to put things off for now so that I can have that larger reward, that long-term reward. And I think somewhere where it really shows up in my life is in the gym. I'm glad that there's a new perspective for you, but I think it shows up a lot for me in the gym. Like, I have definitely not been as disciplined as I was before in the gym. And that's something that I've made a goal for myself that I'm going to be implementing and being disciplined a lot more. But when you go to the gym, there's not that instant, like, I mean, there is, you get all those endorphins and you get all that satisfaction, but this live literally got me off my couch and started working out. That makes me so happy.
Yes.
But I know that you also strive to live, as healthy as possible. But having that long term, like, I've always wanted to have, maybe not a six pack, but I've always wanted abs. I've always wanted to have like that toned body. And I remember going from being really uncomfortable with myself, uncomfortable with not just my body, but also my face, like all of it, to being able to feel really confident in myself. But it took a lot of, no, I have to do this because I'm doing this for my goals. I'm doing this for the future me. I'm doing it because I have a vision of what I actually want in the future. But the reward isn't now. The reward is a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, when it's actually showing.
Right. And I think working out is such a good place to first start bringing discipline and the awareness of discipline into your life, because you can physically see the results. And it's such an interesting place to see the results, because like you said, it takes a few months before you see those abs. But if you lose your discipline along the way, you quickly regress. At least personally with working out, it takes me a few months to build up my strength and start seeing the muscle tone and definition. And if I take 2 weeks where I don't work out as much and maybe I don't eat as healthy, it goes back all that progress so fast. So for anyone who's watching this that might be struggling with bringing discipline into your life, or you haven't really thought about it, if you are someone who works out or eats healthy or anything that you can kind of physically start to think about this type of mindset with, then I really suggest that. Another thing I wanted to bring up was actually a definition of discipline that I read from the dictionary. An actual dictionary as well, not even online. So yeah, we still have those. And it said, discipline is control gained by enforcing obedience or order. So that for me was maybe the negative connotation that discipline can have sometimes, where a child's misbehaving and they get disciplined by their parents, or you get disciplined at work for showing up late. The flip side of that with yourself is, if you're not being disciplined in your everyday actions, then who has the control? Because if you don't have that discipline yourself, you don't have that control over yourself and over your life. So I think that's a really interesting way to kind of flip the negative essence to discipline that might make you not really that receptive to it, and really see that there is discipline happening in your life, and are you controlling it, or is something else?
Are you controlling it, or is it controlling you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like, and also when you were talking, or I think it was Katie actually said you have less anxiety. Like, also when you talked about regressing in that, I feel like it also brings not anxiety, that's not the, like, you know, when you don't do that thing that you're supposed to do, and now you're feeling disappointed in yourself. Now you let yourself down, and it's like, oh, okay. And I feel like it brings negativity to all aspects of your life. So when you talk about taking that control, I think that's something that we all want. We all want control of our lives. We all want control to do better, to set our goals. I don't think we've ever talked about this, but do you have a specific way of goal setting, or no?
I do. I have a few different ways.
Okay.
At the beginning of every month, I set my goals for that month. Yeah, exactly. Like Tristan said, at the end of the day, you aren't happy with yourself if you don't stay disciplined. And that's the worst feeling, because then sometimes once you lose that momentum and you lose that discipline, it's even harder to get started. With working out, when I've taken a week or 2 weeks off, it turns into a month or 2 months off, and it gets hard to get back into that groove of things.
In there too.
Man, working out. As far as goal setting, yes. So every month I create monthly goals. And then at the end of the month, I look back on the previous month. There's some that kind of stay, like working out. It's always a monthly goal. And then I also set intentions for my week. Not really specific goals, just kind of like the greater focus for the week. And then every day I set a specific goal. And for me, it really ranges from tangible things. Like my goal today was to get this school project done. My goal yesterday was to stay peaceful. So for me, I can't always focus on some of the mental, emotional, spiritual stuff and the physical stuff every day. Being realistic, we can't have a goal to do everything every day. And that's another aspect of staying disciplined. It helps you to stay a little bit realistic with what you can actually get done. So yeah, I kind of bounce my goals around between physical stuff and more mental mindset things.
I like that. I was just curious if you had like a specific way that you stay disciplined, but something that I wrote down that I didn't want to forget to say, staying full of peace. Yes.
Yes.
Something that I had written down, we were talking a little bit before this, and you said something about, when you tracking your fitness, how we can track discipline in fitness. But setting, like you mentioned something about tracking other things isn't always as black and white. But can we make our goals more black and white? Can we make it to where it's like, okay, this specifically is what I want to stay disciplined on? Like, how can we flip that to where we can break down our goals to make them more, okay, this is it. Like, this is the structure that I want, and this is what I'm going to stay disciplined on. I think that's something that helps me keep that, because if I can write down, so maybe like an overall goal, like getting fit. Okay, cool. That's a goal. But can you really track that if, like, what's actually your goal? Do you want to eat healthier? Do you want to tone? Do you want to just lose weight? Do you want to be more flexible and do yoga? Anything like that. For me, when I first like started tracking my fitness journey, I started counting my macros, and that was a really big thing. Like, eating specific to my goals, that was like huge. I had never had that kind of discipline and control over what I put into my body, and like to have that I did feel that sense of control that you were talking about. So maybe just setting more very specific things that we want to be disciplined on.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because things intuitively don't seem as black and white, like working out goals, but they really are. Like you said, when you start breaking it down and writing out your goals or why you want to do something, maybe that's how you can find if you're staying disciplined with it, is why you want that. And really diving deep into yourself and figuring out what you want to work towards and why you're working towards that, and then having like a checklist on the way. I think that's a really helpful way.
I like that.
I am the queen of checklists. I have them in all my notebooks and my planner and my phone, on my wall. Like,
something that Ruby and I used to do that I feel like helped us so much is, instead of telling yourself, okay, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, is, am I going to make time today to do this for myself? So I feel like working out was the biggest one that we always had on there, but do you want to be more well-read? Am I going to make time today to make sure that I take 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of my day to read? And having, like, you know how you said a little checklist? We had like a little star system, like we were in elementary school again. But being able to like track our productivity together, we literally had, like, it was like a mirror with all the things. Did you make time to work out today? Did you make time to do this today? And we would start it off. But it was almost like a little friendly competition. Like, well, I did this. Did you? Did you make time today?
yeah.
But asking yourself, like, am I going to make time for myself today? Or am I going to do that? I think sets a different tone for your day than just telling yourself you're going to do it. And then at that point, are you actually going to be impeccable with your word and listen to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you guys made that a competition. But I think that also shows how it's sometimes easier to be more accountable when there's someone else. Because I'm sure some days you did that just to be able to tell Ruby, yeah, I did it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's okay. I mean, I have friends that were the same way. I work out with my boyfriend most of the time because that's how we motivate each other to stay accountable. So that definitely is helpful. But it also is important to be able to bring those skills just with yourself. There's something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah, like what you said, am I going to make the time to do this for myself today? I think that also can help to take out some of the negative connotation behind discipline, because it's that thing that you hear all the time. It's not saying I have to work today. It's I am able to work today. I get to work today. I want to work today. Like, everything that you're working towards and you're doing in your life should be because they're things that you want to be doing, or they're things that are on your journey towards what you want. I know sometimes we might have to work jobs that aren't necessarily exactly what we want, but they're part of our bigger vision. So it's not that you have to go to work. It's that I want to go to work because that's going to help me with da 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 da. Like Ruby said, instead of saying I don't have the time, say it's not important enough to me.
Yes.
And then
that's a big
see,
one.
is it?
Like,
I mean, sometimes it might not be. Like, these are also things that can be helpful because we have to be realistic with what we're able to get done. Yes, that's really the struggle. My negative thoughts to gratitude. Exactly.
But I feel
yeah.
like once you switch to that state of gratitude, once you switch to, I get to do this, or I'm doing this, and like really telling yourself, like reminding yourself why you're doing it for you, I feel like it's hard to get out of that state of gratitude. It's hard to, like, when I started writing like my 10 things I'm grateful for every day in our chat, like I feel like it's so hard for me to fall out of that gratitude because it's the first thing I did in the morning. Like I'm thinking, oh, hey, I'm so happy and grateful for. So yeah.
Exactly. And like you said, it helps you stay focused on that and get through things that maybe you don't love that specific task. For example, my project that I had to do. I'm going to keep going back to that because I just finished it before this live, which I am so grateful for. But this specific project was not on a topic of interest to me, which is why I procrastinated and didn't have that discipline. But now this week, I have just reframed my mindset to have that gratitude again, that even though this specific task I might not be that grateful for, I'm not loving it, but the greater implications and what it leads to, I'm so grateful for. I'm so grateful that I'm able to go to school. I'm so grateful that I am learning these new things and that it's all towards my path of my future and my future self. So I feel you, Tristan. It is hard sometimes to shift that. But that's why for me, it's always just about focusing on the greater thing, right? Like I'm not lying to myself and I'm not saying I'm grateful for this specific task because I don't love it, but I'm grateful for the bigger thing that it can lead to and that it's a part of. And shifting it back to discipline a little bit, I almost forgot to bring up this quote that I read earlier. Reminding ourselves and maintaining a level of gratitude, appreciation. Exactly. And yes, Tristan, I will check in with you. I believe that you got this. It is just that mental shift. But like Steph said, once you start working on that and every day you're changing your mindset to have that type of approach, it'll just start to happen. Like when I was thinking how I was frustrated with this project, it just happened. My mind just said, that's okay. It's valid that I don't love this project, but it's part of a bigger thing. So you got this. This quote that I came across about discipline by this man by the name of Jim Rohn, who was an entrepreneur and motivational speaker. He was actually a mentor to Tony Robbins and the person who started Herbalife, whose name I just forgot, but he was this amazing man. And what he said about discipline was that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. And I love that because that's exactly like what Steph was mentioning about it helping you with your actions. So discipline is how we turn these goals and all of this into actually accomplishments and stuff to say that I did. Like I have this goal to get my master's. So by being disciplined and getting my assignments done, that's going to be an accomplishment that I'm going to have. Yeah, I just came across Jim Rohn and I'm loving him so far too.
I'm so glad you said that because actually when I was talking that definition of discipline that I said at the beginning, that was actually from one of his videos.
Wow.
All of his videos, I feel like anything that he talks about with discipline, like I'm like, oh damn, why have I not been listening to you a lot longer? Because I needed that.
Exactly. Yeah, he is also the one that said either you run the day or the day runs you. And that's just like with either you have control or these outside things do. But looking at it in a time scale about your day, you always see these things online like, oh, Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day as you. What are you going to do with it? Like, look what she did. I don't love those because Beyonce has a whole team of people, but yes, she is still a queen doing her thing. And that is still a good way to think about it, not in a way of comparing it to someone else, but just you do have these 24 hours in this day. What are you going to do with it for yourself?
that you said that reminded me of, which by the way, we just about hit our 30-minute mark. But, I was going somewhere with this. When you talked about the same 24 hours, I don't necessarily love those either, depending on who it's talking about. But when I heard a quote, and I don't know who said it, but it was somebody that is less qualified than you is out there doing something much better than you, or putting it into action and getting more results than you. And when I really stopped to think about that, like, we all have, like, you're right, we do all have the same 24 hours. Maybe not the team that Beyonce has, but is there, there's always going to be somebody out there doing the same thing as us. Are we making the most of it? And are we really doing everything with everything that we've got? I feel like there's been so many times where I could have done a little bit more. I could have pushed a little bit harder for myself. And at the end of the day, when you talk about having that control, or like having outside factors have control, I feel like that's a big part of, are you making use of everything you got for you? And I think that's how we can, like how you talked about shifting the negative to positive for discipline. I feel like remembering that staying disciplined is for you. It's literally for you to get the things that you want. So why do we hate staying disciplined so much? Because it's definitely a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really think it's just about making those little shifts about it, and just about understanding and accepting, like we said at the beginning, it's hard to be disciplined and it's hard not to be disciplined, and making those sacrifices now for that long-term success. Another thing I was reading was talking about how being disciplined now gives you ultimate freedom later. So like you said about, do you want that beach day right now, or do you want to own that beach and have unlimited beach days?
Today's pleasures versus tomorrow's fortune.
Exactly. That's
so huge.
It is. It's honestly life-changing when you really not only start to listen to these things and think about it and let it resonate, but really start to apply it to your life. And that was one thing that I meant to mention at the beginning, is if anything that Steph and I say throughout this conversation resonates with you, or like for you, Tristan, that you want to start bringing that type of mental shift into your mindset, into your life, definitely write this down, put little reminders around. If it's discipline you want to do, write out a few things you want to be more disciplined with and start tracking it, just like Steph and Ruby did. Make it a game with a friend if you have one, but definitely not only tune into what we're saying, but we really want you guys to really get value from this, just like we get the value from talking about it. This is motivating me to go be more disciplined too. This is making me realize yes. This is making me realize, places where I might be lacking discipline that I need to bring it into. So when I get off this call, I'm actually going to write some of that out, and I'm going to start tracking that. So I encourage anyone who's listening to do the same. And I think we're getting ready to wrap this up because we don't want to be too long. So just to close out, you don't have to answer, but we would love that interaction if but it might be personal, so that's okay. Definitely reflect and answer if you want. Somewhere in your life that you want to be more disciplined, or an area that you want to bring more discipline into. So for me, it is with working out. That might be a big one, and it is it's all easy, but it's an easier one to start to track and notice. I did take like the last month and a half off of working out and doing yoga like completely, and I did some yoga today. So today is my first start of being more disciplined with working out and yoga.
For me, it's also actually like Brittany also mentioned fitness. Ash mentioned trading. Ash is one of the most disciplined people that I know. But for me, it is also fitness. I actually, everybody's in their fitness goals. I love it. But for me, it's also fitness. I actually just redid my vision board. I don't know if you can see it, but I put my macros up there. I put all the things that I want to stay on board on so that I can see it every day. And how Stacy was saying to write it down, like Tristan, thank you so much for being on this call this whole time and interacting with us as well. But write it down for yourself. Make a little reminder for yourself. Even we talk, I feel like, I don't know, do you have a vision board?
I do.
Yes.
I relocated my desk so it's not hanging up, but yes.
I love that. I saw that people now with the new update on their phones are making like their background their vision boards. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I'm gonna send you a screenshot of what some of them look like, because I definitely want to do that. But just setting a reminder for yourself and going back to intention, like intentionally staying on that yoga and meditation or that fitness journey that Britt mentioned, Ruby or Ash, like that trading journey. Yeah, being really intentional about it.
Yeah. And make sure you're not only just setting these goals and identifying where you want to be disciplined, but follow up with yourself. Look back at the end of the week or the end of the month or whatever it is, even if you're not actually writing it down, but just pay attention in your mind and see, did I show up for myself every day?
Yes.
And it's okay if not. You know, we have to be flexible and kind to ourselves. There's a lot going on. Sometimes it might not happen every day, but just know that if it didn't happen, that means it wasn't that important to you that day.
And also reminding yourself why it is important to you. Because I can't tell you how many times I didn't want to get to the gym, or like how many times I haven't wanted to be consistent in certain things, but reminding myself, oh yeah, I want to have that slim body, or I want to be more toned, or I want to feel more confident in myself. I feel like that makes it a little more worth it.
Definitely. Cool. Does anyone else?
People joining at
I
the
know,
very end.
they're just joining. Well, if you just joined and you missed the entire thing, we were just talking about the power of discipline. I will be saving this and posting it on my page. So if you just joined, make sure to go back and watch it because gems were dropped. And on that note, thank you everyone for tuning in and interacting, and look out for us next week.
Thank you guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.